Hello, everybody. Ni hao. Welcome back to another episode of Blandan Lives in China. So I am moving soon, which is super exciting. And in this move, I've been doing a bunch of stuff, preparing, shipping all of my stuff from China, and it's been crazy. But one of the things that I've been kind of wondering in the back of my head is where am I going to be able to watch my Chinese language palace dramas? So I did a little bit of digging and I found this company called StarTimes. StarTimes is actually a Chinese digital services television provider that's one of the number one digital TV providers in Africa. And I thought that was wild. At first, I was like, nobody really cares about digital TV. Why do I need to tell this story? But then I did a little bit of digging and I found some interesting things. And one of the big things that stuck out to me is that StarTimes is actually bringing a lot of Chinese content to Africa and working with a lot of local content creators throughout countries in Africa. So I was like, I got to do this story. I think people will really like this. Another thing that I decided to do, because I was doing all of this digging about digital TV and I'm a super huge nerd, I decided to do another video that's about the actual technical side of digital TV. So if you want to watch a video about how analog versus digital television works and how StarTimes renders its services in Africa, check out the video that's going to be linked at the end of this one, or look for the link to the video in the info section. But if you're not interested in tech and you're just interested in the business side of things, don't worry. This video is just going to cover strategies that StarTimes employed when entering African countries, the history of StarTimes, and a little bit of controversy. All right, enough chit chat. Let's get started. StarTimes was founded by Pan Xingxing, an engineer by trade, in 1988. In 2002, Pan Xingxing responded to the push for a worldwide standard of digital television and a call for Greater China-Africa cooperation on the part of the Chinese government and some African governments, and he began expanding his company into the African continent. That same year, Pan Xingxing stepped foot in Africa for the first time. So he says, for the next 6 years, he and his team conducted market research on the best methods and practices for expanding their business into Africa. If you guys watched my other video, you'll have noticed that Transsion did a similar thing. And this is kind of a trend with Chinese tech companies when they enter Africa. They'll go through a 5 to 8 year research period before actually doing anything. By 2007, StarTimes had landed their first commercial contract and became Rwanda's first digital television operator. Today, StarTimes provides service to over 30 different countries in Africa. Now, how did StarTimes pull this off, you ask? Well, here are 3 strategies that StarTimes used to make it in Africa. Strategy number 1 is kind of obvious, and that strategy is affordability. StarTimes offers the most affordable plans on the market. An average digital television plan under StarTimes is around $4 a month. When StarTimes hit the market, this price was way cheaper than that of other digital television companies like DSTV, which offers a family plan for around $15 a month. And this is not including a $6 access fee. Now, people have been skeptical as to exactly how StarTimes is able to provide these cheaper plans. Well, let me break down one of the main ways that StarTimes does it. Television providers have to pay licensing fees to broadcast your fave shows. Licensing fees can be really expensive, especially for big name shows. StarTimes is able to deal with this pesky little issue by licensing China-made content. Chinese production houses in places like Hengdian, one of China's largest TV sets, make content at a really crazy rate. Because there is so much content and StarTimes has that good old China plug, they are able to get shows made in China on the cheap and then dub them in English. Okay, so apparently the show Story of Yanxi Palace, or in Chinese, Yanxi Gonglue, is pretty popular in Africa because of StarTimes. It's a classic palace drama with all of the betrayal and suspense that you could hope for. So if you are into that, I definitely recommend checking it out. But StarTimes hasn't just stopped at dubbing popular Chinese shows in English. They've gone just a little bit further and started dubbing shows in Swahili as well. Here's an example of a popular show dubbed in Swahili.
Sisi ndo tumeoana. Yeye ni kimada.
Na nyie vipi mnahusiana?
Yeye ni mpangaji. Yusha. Umefikia hata kukodisha chumba.
Kama wewe umediriki kuwatongoza.
In addition to this show, there's also quite a few kung fu films that are dubbed as well. I grew up watching a lot of films like Coffee and Cleopatra Jones that were inspired by kung fu flicks from China, so I love a good kung fu film. Now you might be wondering, how in the world did StarTimes dub all of these films? Where are they getting the manpower for this? Well, it just so happens that StarTimes has its very own dubbing studio in Nairobi, where they dub in Swahili, and another on the outskirts of Beijing, where they do a little bit of dubbing as well. Now, talking about how StarTimes dubs a lot of its Chinese language shows in Swahili and English brings me to another piece of the StarTimes success story. Number 2, localized content. If you watched my transient video, you know that this is a big part of transient or techno success story in Africa. They found ways to localize their content or their products to fit the African continent. And they didn't just say, okay, one strategy works for the African continent. They also employed different strategies throughout different countries in Africa. StarTimes has done this as well, and they've partnered and worked very closely with local people in the countries that they offer services to produce content. Some of these productions have generated new jobs in the creative industry, which is really cool. I'm a person who works in creative industries, and I realize how hard it is for young creative people with all of this passion and drive to find jobs. I do think that it's pretty cool that StarTimes is providing an outlet that also offers monetary benefit for young people. StarTimes has also helped facilitate some cool knowledge transfers by pairing local producers with producers from China to create TV programming. One of the results of this partnership is a TV show called Hello, Mr. Right. It's pretty entertaining, and it looks just like the popular TV show If You Are the One, which is notorious in China because there was this one girl who went on the show and she was asked, I forget what question she was asked, but in response to the question, she said, "I would rather cry in the back of a BMW than laugh with you on a bicycle." Here's a side-by-side of the two shows so you can see what they look like.
Yeah, I love about this.
I don't know where I am from today.
这样的，我们来问一问1号谢家对他们讨论的这个问题，就是马诺和
Okay, so StarTimes offers affordable programming and produces localized content, but I still think one of the most important keys to StarTimes' success is strategy number 3, free stuff. In China, we have this coffee company called Luckin Coffee, and Luckin Coffee has a really unique business model. You order and pay for your Luckin Coffee on an app, and the app issues you a number, and then you go pick up your coffee at the Luckin Coffee location that you've selected in the app. Throughout this process, you don't actually talk to any staff members. Everything is completely digital except for the picking up of the coffee. It makes it really convenient to pick up coffee on the go. When Luckin Coffee first hit the market about a year and a half ago, they started offering crazy coffee deals for as little as 2 renminbi. Now, I'm always eager for a deal, so I stopped making my coffee at home and started going to Luckin for my morning coffee. I would order it on my way to the subway and drink it on my morning commute, which was like an hour, and I was really thankful to have some coffee on my morning commute. I enjoyed Luckin Coffee so much so that when the coupons started drying up, I did start going back to my regular homemade coffee, but I would also purchase from Luckin a few days a week as a little treat to myself, and I would also purchase if I was in a rush. I usually never go to coffee shops on my way to work, but Luckin managed to hook me with their free stuff. Why, family? Because everybody loves free stuff. This is exactly what StarTimes is doing. An example of this is StarTimes' 2016 pilot program initiative. Through this program, StarTimes gave free digital boxes to 120 households in Kajiado County, Kenya. Another random tidbit is that China's Vice Minister of Propaganda, Media, and Censorship flew in for the occasion. And mind you, propaganda, media, and censorship, that's one role. That's one person for one role. I want everybody to pay attention to how StarTimes did this. As more Chinese companies enter the market and partner up with African startups, you are totally going to see this happening a lot more. Get ready to rack in the coupons. Alrighty, so I talked about all the ways that StarTimes is killing the game in Africa, but I also have to talk about some of the things that haven't been so good. The pursuit of truth requires a well-rounded examination of the facts, right? I was surfing the internet as I'm wont to do and stumbled upon this quote from StarTimes CEO Pan Sing talking about StarTimes' presence in Africa, and he said, "Africa is on a steady march forward in terms of digitization and should take full advantage of being latecomers to the field. A late adoption of digital technology means more African countries stand to benefit from cheaper but more efficient systems and will also allow for easier technology and content sharing." Hear me out. I completely understand this theory of development and tech transfers. What Pan Sing is talking about is leapfrogging. But I'm honestly not a huge fan of this theory. Leapfrogging does not always work out in practice, especially because we are at a moment in history where the entire tech paradigm is about to shift. A lot of the technologies that we know and love will be obsolete in the coming decades. In addition, it should be ensured that tech that is being transferred to latecomers is well functioning and that there are local people with the knowledge and experience to fix problems that may arise. This does not mean African nations should not take advantage of being latecomers, like Pansing Singh has said, but tech transfers are not enough. I truly think people should adopt, then learn for themselves, then create their own stuff. I see strains of this happening throughout Africa, so I know other people understand this too. The next thing that must be pointed out is the claims that StarTimes is pursuing soft power initiatives on behalf of the Chinese government, like this article in the LA Times. Now, I do believe that StarTimes is working to portray China in a good light. This mural kind of highlights that. But this is not unusual. Media everywhere around the world is used as a tool to shape perceptions. Fans of Noam Chomsky will know exactly what I'm talking about. The last big beef with StarTimes is the fact that a few African governments have taken out loans from China's Export-Import Bank to pay for StarTimes contracts. The big one that everybody talks about is the $273 million loan that Zambia's government took out in 2018. This has brought up fears of debt trap diplomacy, as it is often called. Now, in my personal opinion, no matter who it is or which country the money comes from, nations that are pursuing large infrastructure investments should always be suspect of debt traps. I'd be really curious to see what Zambia's government plans are to repay the loan, and I'd love to know some more about what industries Zambia's government believes might spur from the services that StarTimes will render. If they believe that the services rendered by StarTimes, like the distribution of hardware and knowledge transfers, offer long-term benefits for education, reaching rural populations, and developing new industries, it might be worth it. Also, Zambia's government might be hoping for the Ethiopian case where a number of their loans were forgiven by China. Basically, I want to see the receipts. If anyone has any insight on this, please let me know in the comments. Last, there was a scandal a few years ago where StarTimes had distributed malfunctioning decoders. According to Chimweta Luando's article on The Mast, several subscribers have complained that they were unable to renew their StarTimes subscriptions, while others say despite their subscription being up to date, their decoders have simply switched off. This brings me back to what I said before. There has to be people with knowledge about how these things work that are local and trusted and can catch mistakes like this. Okie dokie, there you have it, the StarTimes story. Now, I'm curious to hear what you all have to say. Those of you who utilize StarTimes services, what do you all think of their programming? Do you find it interesting and engaging? Why did you switch to StarTimes? And did you know that StarTimes was a company based in China? And now that you know that, does this affect your desire to use StarTimes services in any way? Thanks again for checking out this video. Please hit the subscribe button and the bell if you'd like to hear more China-Africa tech stories. If you're interested in the technical side of StarTimes, check out the video that is about to pop up right now. If you want to check out some other informative content on StarTimes, check out the link in the description box to a really good podcast by the China-Africa Project. And if you ever have anything you would like to ask me or say, reach out to me on Twitter at SheaButterBay. My DMs are open. Okie dokie, I gotta go place my order on Taobao before the seller sends out the last shipment of the day. See you next time. Bye.